I logged in Raidshadowlegends this morning to find those little red dots hanging around events and tournament. When I clicked on it, it showed me there's a fusion warm-up event coming up, or it has already started. I was like, what is this all about? We just finished a fusion. We are hot. We don't even need to be warmed up. And turns out there's a new fusion coming up soon. In exactly 3 days or 4 days, when this fusion warm-up event ends, the new fusion will drop. So I just wanted to hit the record in this video and give my first impressions about this new champion, legendary champion that is being launched, the new free fusion that you can get if you complete all the events that is required to get the champion. This will be an old school fusion. By old school, we mean you have to get a bunch of champions leveled up just like you do for the rising fusion. Just like, let's hover here and show you. It will be exactly like this, where you have to get a bunch of rares, a bunch of fuse the epics, and then get the legendary. So this is how this fusion will be planned out. This kind of fusion will require you to, get potions, because each champion you need to level up will be put in the tavern and given potions, or ascended, as you say it. So whether it's force, whether it's spirit, whether it's magic, we don't know the rares yet that will be released for this fusion. So we hope it to be new. We hope it will be old rares, but it's not possible. Plarium always releases new rares and new epics for these fusions. So we have about a week of information to be shared with content creators, but we've not seen any video out yet, because normally before these fusions come up, we see a bunch of information about the rares and epics that will be released. So we're hoping after they give small teaser about the fusion that is coming up, the rares and epics will be released for us to review them, if they are worth keeping or worth going for the champion itself. So who is this new champion that is coming to the game? The name is Karato Foxhunter, Shadow King faction attack champion. It doesn't look like a fox hunter. You don't use a sword to fight or to hunt foxes, though. It looks like a normal warrior who is going to battle. Anyways, on his A1 called 3 visitations, he attacks 3 times, just like the name says. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing 25% weaken. That's the big weaken, right? So that's a awesome A1. It reminds me of Atel's A1 when he hits 3 times. I don't know if the chances of placing the weaken is the same, though. Probably can be booked up, I think, to maybe 50% chance or so, or 40. We don't know yet. On the A2 Bedevil, it has a 4-turn cooldown. Attacks one enemy, places a stun debuff for 2 turns. One enemy stun debuff for 2 turns. There are a few champions in this game that can place stun for 2 turns. Normally stun goes on for 1 turn. So having this champion place stun for 2 turns is kind of awesome. I think Terrell does play stun for 2 turns. Grants an extra turn and resets the cooldown of this skill if Yumeko is on the same team, so he pairs up with Yumeko. I don't know who Yumeko is, though, but I guess we can check. Is Yumeko a new champion? Is it a new champion? It would be a Shadow King faction champion too. Ninja Yoshinobu. Yumeko is not yet in the game. I guess it will be released as part of the fusion. Maybe I'm not seeing it. Let me know if I'm missing something out here. But I think Yumeko will also be a new champion that will be released along with this champion, because they usually release one for the fusion and release one just as a normal champion that is released into the game. So he's pairing up with a new champion that will also be released, I guess. So that 1 stun for 2 turns grants an extra turn and resets the cooldown of this skill. That means he can use it again. Well, he can stun the next person again. He resets the cooldown entirely, so he can use it instantly again. Where I'm confused is if he can do it again and again and again till he stuns everybody in the entire team. That's what I'm looking at. So if he places stun on one person and then he resets the cooldown, he grants an extra turn. Can he go again, or his turn meter will already be depleted? We'll see how this works when he's released into the test server and content creators have access to him, and see if this skill will be broken, because 2 turn stun is awesome, but making him get an extra turn to use the skill again will be even more crazier, especially if you have this Yumeko on the team. I guess that's the main condition. On the A3, attacks all enemies has a 80% chance of placing a block active skill debuff for 2 turns. Block active skill is strong, and having it being placed on an AoE basis is even stronger. Normally we have 2-3 champions that it can be placed on, but this is on everybody. I think we already have a legendary champion in the game that can place it on a 1-turn cooldown. No, on a 2-turn. 2-turn, yeah. I think she pairs with this other champion. They all have feathers. Licks, counter licks, that's what I'm thinking of. She places it on a 2-turn cooldown also. I mean on a 2-turn on all enemies. So that kind of locks the entire team out and makes them use their A1 skill. And I prefer stun definitely as a debuff over block active skill, but sometimes, hey, you have to use what you have. The debuff cannot be resisted if Yumeko is on the same team. Now this is even crazier. People are going to actually pair this champion with Yumeko because it makes him go crazy. Without Yumeko, the skills are just okay, like a normal epic champion skills. But when you have Yumeko on the same team, it goes crazy. Is this a passive? Yes, it is a passive. Stoicism. Damage inflicted by this champion cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills. Damage inflicted by this champion cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills. Immediately I think of bosses. You know, bosses that doesn't allow you to do your maximum damage. If it will work on bosses, it will be awesome. But let's read. Or masteries, except by passive skills by bosses. Okay, they have to put that condition in there. They just have to ruin it. We need a champion that will do maximum damage for bosses, that will ignore those boss passives. They always have to say doesn't apply to bosses. Come on. Damage inflicted by this champion cannot be increased by ally passive skills or masteries either. Well, that's the good side of the skill, and that's the bad side of the passive also. So all those passive you have in your, whether it's the attack 3 or defense 3 that kind of increases or reduces the damage you do to this your total stats will not work. So damage inflicted by the champion cannot be increased by ally passive or masteries. Okay, he can increase his own passive with his own masteries, but other allies cannot increase his passive. That's what it means. But hey, at least buffs will work, increase attack buff and all that will still work on him. So at least they did not rule out that one. If you remove passives from him, from ally passives or masteries, that means he will still hit hard with his own masteries. Whenever Yumeko dies, instantly grants a turn to this champion and resets the cooldown of each of these champion skills. This is another crazy part of this whole passive. There is no cooldown to this. Whenever it happens, he just resets and grants a turn to him immediately. So he takes a turn immediately she dies. That is awesome. So he can use any of his skill once that happens. They'll all go off cooldown. That's a crazy passive right there. So hopefully Yumeko will be a tanky champion, will not be as squishy as he will be because he's an attack based champion, to be a support based champion that will make sure all this works for him. His aura in battle increases ally crit rate in all battles by 20%. That's kind of low. Well, crit rate is usually not higher than that. So what do I think of this champion? I think the one target stun for 2 turns is awesome. Taking one of the enemy champion out of the battle for 2 turns is great. Then locking their skills. Of course, in battle, you will always start with the A3. You don't start with the A2. So you always start with blocking active skills. Put those little padlocks on them for 2 turns. So for 2 turns, they are using their A1, and you can go in with this one to stun one more person for 2 extra turns. So generally, this champion is a control champion. I don't see him hitting hard. From having this and having this, it just tells me that he is just there to be annoying, to lock out, to stun, to, so it doesn't seem like he's a champion that will be built as a nuker. It seems like a champion that you put in place of a provoke or in place of a stunner or in place of a sleep champion. So it's one of those champions that you just bring into the battle to control the waves. Why? Because you have so much accuracy on him that you won't have enough time to begin to build for damage. So except you can squeeze in damage and accuracy into this champion build, I don't think it will be possible to make him nuke really, really hard. Of course, our content creators out there will show us tests of them doing savage gear, but when you do have him on savage, you will not have enough accuracy to land this debuff on higher dungeon content or higher Doom Tower content especially. So he's a control champion. Welcome to the team. I'll be welcome to Raidshadowlegends, I guess. If you go into the game and check his Shadow King faction, no, he's not yet listed there. I guess there'll be an update in 2 to 3 days where all these other champions that is part of the fusion will be listed. So by then we'll take another deep dive into those epics and find out which of them is worth keeping, or even deciding if you even want to go for this fusion. We're not talking about that yet. This video was all about reading out his skill, letting you guys know that there's a new fusion coming up. So it's time for you to start saving your energy. It's time for you to start saving your resources. Time for you to start farming those potion keeps to keep a lot of potions that is required to fuse this champion. Also time for you to start farming the campaign and getting your 2-star, 3-star, 4-star champions ready, so you don't wait till a champion training event comes up during the fusion before you start doing that. Start getting your level 30s, like your level 20s, your level 40s ready, so your champion training will be easy for you. So start saving your silver. Also, look at me, I'm sitting at 63,000 silver. I'll also start saving silver. Although for the noob to pro, which is from here, we are not chasing this fusion in this noob to pro. That this account is all about going for the arbiter missions and completing it. So on my main account, of course, I'll be going for every fusion that is available out there in the game. It's a free legendary champion. So you might be asking now, is it better than the last fusion we just did? It seems like yes, this champion is way better than the last fusion we just completed. So the question is whether you'll be going for him or you're going for one of the epics that will be released. We're about to find out in the next days that will be coming up. Anyways, that's this short video I wanted to give about this new champion that is out right now as a new fusion, Karato the Foxhunter. Let me know your initial thoughts about these skills and if you think my assessment of him will be perfect or is right. Like, subscribe. I'm Brix5D. I'll see you in the next Raidshadowlegends video. Have a nice day.